Hey guys, kinggath here, and in this video we're going to go over the various tools you can craft at the city planner's desk that will help you with managing your settlements. So you'll notice that I've got a city planner's desk and a chemistry station here, and that's because I wanted to point out that you can craft the things I'm about to show you at either. But obviously the things I'm going to show you are from Sim Settlement, so presumably you will have a city planner's desk to build from, so I'm going to show you in that. But if you access certain parts of the desk, which is basically any of the desk that's not one of the tools we've covered in previous videos, you'll see it says craft. And when you do that, you'll get access to a bunch of things. So the first thing there is holotapes, and that lets you craft additional copies of the City Manager holotape. Some of them are named and set up for various things. So for example, the first one there is with the dash, and that's just to make sure it appears at the top of your inventory. Next is one that is set up for some of the mods, excuse me, some of the interface mods that rework your interface so that they will show up with the appropriate icon. And then of course there's the classic, just correctly alphabetically named City Manager 2078 holotape. Next up are the sensors, where you can craft the ASAM sensors, and the 10-pack and regular are exactly the same thing. It's just to speed up the ability for you to craft them, since you need quite a lot of them to play some settlements. And then lastly, we have the tool screen, and this is where things are going to get most interesting. So the first one there, the Architect's T-Square, is actually a legacy item that probably should have been removed a few patches back. You likely don't need this. It might help you with adding some randomization elements, but the idea, this was before the ability to interact with the ASAM sensors existed. So this is from like way back in the 1.x line of Sim Settlements. And essentially, if you have this equipped, it allows you to cycle to the next building plan on a particular plot. So I left it in there just because maybe some people wanted it for nostalgia, or enjoy the way it works, for giving them kind of a pseudo randomization option without having to go in and directly mess with the sensor and select the building plan. So that's available there. It will likely disappear one of these patches, at least from the recipe. So if you want one, now's your time to get one. Next up, we have ASAM Vision. So now this is a series of items, and essentially what these ASAM Vision do is highlight various things. So whether it be homeless or unemployed settlers, unpowered items in your settlement, or plots that are ready for upgrade. And each of these things is essentially an item that lets you turn that specific thing on and off. And then finally, there's the ASAM Vision switch, which lets you toggle between them. I'm going to build one of those so I can show you how it works, because it covers all the rest of these. But the reason for all of the different versions was that some people wanted to be able to hotkey directly to the one they wanted and didn't want to have to go through and wait for the cycling, because it can take a moment for each of them to turn on and off. And so the cycling with the vision switch is a little slower, but makes it easier for you to just have one hotkey to access all of this different functionality. Next up is the Immersion Breaker. And the Immersion Breaker essentially allows you to refresh plots by just hitting them with this hammer. So when you walk up to a plot, you'll get a refresh option, so you can bypass the ASAM sensor and using that menu. Now this is another one of those legacy tools, but it actually does serve a purpose, because there is occasion that if your plot gets stuck where the ASAM sensor won't spawn, this is a way to get around that and force that sensor to respawn. So this item will likely stay in the mod for the long term. So I'll go ahead and build one of those just so I can show you how it works. Next is the Packed City Planner's Desk, and this allows you to essentially build a city planner's desk that sits in your inventory, so that when you go and find a new settlement, you can drop it down and then use that to start up a city plan. So that's great for those of you who aren't using maybe the Conqueror system that allows you to pre-start, and you want to be able to have the city planner's desk ready to go so that you can start up your settlements as you find them. I've shown this in other videos, so I'm not going to show you how it works, but it's literally just drop it out of your inventory when you have it, and it will pop a city planner's desk on the ground right where you drop it at, and then you can access it like a normal city planner's desk. The Packed Raider City Planner's Desk, obviously that's from Conqueror, same thing, just basically it's the Raider version. And then last but not least, we have the Town Meeting Gavel, which I'm going to demonstrate what that does. Essentially, it's going to allow you to issue a bunch of different commands to your settlers all at once. So I'm going to now show you all of these different tools that I've just crafted. All right, guys, so now we're going to play with some of these tools. So the first one we'll do is we'll equip the Immersion Breaker, which you equip it just like a weapon. And if you walk up to a plot, you'll see there's a refresh plot option. If you go ahead and press that button, it will swing the weapon and it will refresh everything. So like I said, this is especially useful if the ASAM sensor failed to appear, but it can also be useful if you just want to rapidly wander around and refresh a big batch of plots without having to take the time to access the menu and option and hit it that way. Next up is the town meeting gavel. So this has a variety of things. So the first one is back to work. So I'll go ahead and press this now. So this will do two things. If you have auto assign on, it will try and auto assign anybody who doesn't have work or home. It will try and auto assign them to open things. But then everybody else, it will just try and put them back where they belong. So if it's daytime, it will try and put them on their job object. If it's nighttime, it will try and put them near their bed. So it's very similar to what the game itself is supposed to do when you load into a settlement, which often it can fail. You'll find that, for example, in Sanctuary, where I just was there in that backyard, that your settlers might just be piled up and standing still there. This is a way for you to manually force what the game is supposed to do anyway, which is to scatter your settlers around where they're assigned. Next up is scrap this settlement. Now, I'm not actually going to click this just because I still have some more things I want to demo for you, but I'm going to explain what it does. So this is something we prepared in some settlements with Rise of the Commonwealth in order to facilitate the city plans. So we decided to add this option for you to do it manually, just in case you have the need to scrap a settlement and you don't want to use the scrap all command, or if you're on Xbox and you don't have access to it. So essentially, this is a very safe scrap method. It does not scrap anything that's not normally scrappable. So if you have a scrap mod in, it's not going to scrap everything the scrap mod makes scrappable. It's just going to scrap the things that you can normally scrap in a vanilla unmodded game. And it will also scrap anything that you've built already yourself. So this is useful if you basically just want to walk into a settlement and wipe it clean. You could do that on a fresh settlement that you've built, or one that you haven't built, or one that you have built already and you just want to kind of reset it back to empty. So it will scrap everything you've built and everything that's scrappable in the vanilla game. It does take longer than the scrap all command if you're using the console commands, but it's safer because the scrap all command will take advantage of your scrap mods, which can sometimes leave holes in the world, and it can also accidentally delete quest markers. So it's very, very dangerous to use the scrap all command unless you're just testing things. So for a live game, the scrap the settlement option from the town meeting gavel is your safest bet. And then lastly, we have time for reassignment. And this can work in a variety of ways depending on how your options are set up. But by default, what it will do is it will unassign everybody from everything. And then it will attempt to reassign everyone to a combination of a job and a bed, or a residential plot plus a job plot. Now, if you have auto assign turned off, essentially this will just unassign everybody from everything. And then if you have workshop framework and you have auto assignment on the base vanilla workshop scripts turned off, this will literally do that. It will unassign everybody from everything, shouldn't assign anybody back to anything automatically, because the vanilla game won't even attempt to auto assign anymore if you have workshop framework set up to prevent that. So for most of you, what this is going to do is just fix the assignment issues. So you'll often find you'll come into a settlement after you've been traveling for a while, and you might have settlers assigned to, say, a vanilla bed plus a residential plot, or they're assigned to food plus defense posts. This is just a problem with the way the game handles object references in memory. So when you're out and about, it's not going to keep everything in your settlement in memory. And then when some settlements or the vanilla scripts try to auto-assign things, they can sometimes fail to do it correctly, and you can end up with wonky assignment. So the time for reassignment is kind of a catch-all button to try and fix that for you. So it's something you're welcome to run as often as you need to try and make sure your settlement is assigned correctly. Now, one thing to note about using that is if you have your settlers assigned to specific homes, for example, if you've got unique settlers that you want to make sure stay assigned to specific things, I would not recommend using this tool. All right, and then the last thing that we didn't use yet, but I'm going to go back in and use it now, is I'm going to hit this back to work. Now, there's two ways that this works. One is that they will follow you around, and that's the default method. And then there's an option in the usability settings of the holotape and MCM that will allow you to turn off that follow, and then instead they will just gather around the spot that you activate this. But I'm going to have them follow me, and the reason is so I can show you what the benefit is to that in combination with the ASAM vision switch. Oops, and I actually hit the wrong one. I apologize. I said back to work, I meant gather around. So gather around will make them all follow me. So now you'll see they gather all around, and this includes things like provisioners. So if you've got settlers provisioning and you need to, say, assign them a different house or something, this is a great way to get them back so you don't have to wait for them to come traveling. Or especially if they end up being the quest giver for one of the Radiant quests, your provisioners, this is another great way to be able to turn that in easily. So it's a little side benefit of that. But as you see, they kind of follow me around, so I could go around and assign them to different things. Now, in combination with the ASAM vision switch, which I'm going to turn on now, now to show me the homeless people, you can now quickly see who it is that needs various assignments and then assign them to things as they're following you around. Now, there's one thing to note is if you're a Workshop Plus user, those shiny red things on them, the little skin that goes on them, that does go away when you go into workshop mode if you have the flight turned on. That's a known issue. It's something I'm not sure I'm going to be able to fix or not, but if I ever am able to, I will definitely post that in a patch note. But just know that that's normal, and as soon as you leave workshop mode, it kicks right back in. So as you assign people to beds or residential plots, that red filter will go away. Next up, we have the Find Unemployed, which will use a kind of yellow shader on your characters, and it will show you who doesn't have some sort of job plot or a vanilla job of some sort. Next, we have Find Unpowered. Now, this actually works with vanilla objects as well, but I've only got a few plots to show you. Essentially, it'll just highlight anything that can take a wired connection that does not have power right now. So things that don't require a wired connection may or may not highlight. It depends on how good the game is being at returning results correctly. But for powered connection things that you actually have to wire, it should be very accurate about whether it shows them or not. And as soon as you power those up, the flashing will stop. So you can just pop into workshop mode while this is running. This one does not automatically turn off with Workshop Plus, so you don't have to worry about that. So as I go around and power these, the shader will disappear, and so I can quickly determine when I'm finished handling all the power. So as you can see, the one on the left there that I just powered now is has correctly stopped blinking. And then the last option is especially useful for those of you playing with the Industrial Revolution plots, where the advanced upgrades are turned to manual. So they're basically waiting for you to approve their upgrades so you can choose how they upgrade down the technology tree. And that is the upgradable option. And that will show you in a flashing green which plots are ready to go. Now, I don't have any plots that are ready, but it looks just like that power thing, except it's green instead. So you'll be able to, at a glance, see your buildings that are ready for you to choose their next upgrade path. And if you have all manual plot upgrades turned on, this would also apply to your basic plots as well as the advanced industrial. All right, guys, that should cover all of the different tools you can use in Sim Settlements. And note that they're not designed just to be used with Sim Settlements. You can use these just for your general settlement management as well. As much as possible, I try and make sure those tools work universally, so they'll account for vanilla items as well as Sim Settlement items. Definitely keep me posted in the comments if there are any additional tutorials you guys would like to see. I've got quite a few more lined up that I have in mind, but I'm happy to go back and cover additional information for things that you guys think up over time. All right, guys, take care and enjoy the mods.